In D.C., as members of Congress are drawing lines in the sand when it comes to raising the debt ceiling. Treasury is predicting we'll hit that point in about 10 days. For more on this, I'm joined by Republican Congressman Mick Mulvaney from South Carolina. He sits on the Budget Committee. Congressman, welcome back to the show.
Jerry, thanks very much. It's good to be back.
All right, so last night, Republican debate in your very fine state of South Carolina, and Congressman Ron Paul was judged the winner. I want to get you to react to something he said. Here's Ron Paul.
The big issue today is the budget and the deficit. We approach it in Washington by looking at it as an accounting problem, and it isn't. It's a philosophic problem.
It's a philosophic problem, and it's out of control. What do you have to say, Congressman?
I think he's absolutely right. We want to believe in Washington, or at least a lot of folks want to believe that it's okay to run up deficits and debts forever and that they have no negative impact. And that's simply not true. That's what he's talking about when he says we're trying to fight this philosophy. There's a group of us, myself, Representative Paul included, who think that we can't spend a bunch of money that we don't have. A lot of folks paid lip service to that. Certainly more and more people are paying lip service to it these days. But the truth of the matter is they still spend money. I can't tell you the number of times I've had discussions with members of my own party who say, listen, I know that it's really, really bad, but we still have to spend money on this. We haven't broken through philosophically yet. We haven't convinced Washington that it has to change its ways.
Well, which budget, though, are we talking about here? What do we have? We have the president, the administration's budgets, Part 1, Part 2, Paul Ryan's budget. Now we have Kent Conrad's budget. And the vice president is talking to a bunch of folks about a possible budget. So the American people, we're locked out of this conversation. We don't know what's going on. Which of these budget plans is going to go forward? And will we get details soon?
Here's how it'll work. The House is now bound by its own budget. So when we go to start the appropriations process, the actual spending process, starting here in a couple of weeks, we will be bound by the caps and the rules set in our budget. The Senate will not be bound by that because they're unlikely to pass our budget. In fact, we're hearing now that the Democrats in the Senate may not even pass a budget this year, which is just absurd. But they'll be free to spend whatever they want to under their own rules. And then in the fall, we'll have to try and reconcile those two things. If we spend $100 and they spend $200, then we'll have another fight, like we did under the continuing resolution a few weeks ago, as to whether or not we're going to spend what the House wants to spend or spend what the Senate wants to spend. So it's bad news in that there is no overall budget, but the House has done its job. The House has passed a budget, and we will be living up to those spending limits when we start our spending process.
Well, from what I understand, you guys are taking Medicare and Medicaid off the table. No reform to be discussed this year. I mean, come on. There seems to be some kind of political will to do something with these entitlement programs now, and Congress is just punting the ball.
Yeah, I read that same article. I think you're referring to an article. It was either in the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal yesterday. It's been very clear to us as recently as 48 hours ago that everything is still on the table, and that leadership, Speaker Boehner, is specifically committed to the entire Ryan budget. So I'm not sure if Congressman Ryan was taken out of context or if the reporter simply got it wrong.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. People don't know. People like you are trying to second guess. And you should be inside the room, for goodness sakes. You're a congressman. And when it comes to the American people, we're even further out of the room. It's frustrating to watch because it's our taxpayer dollars. I'm wondering if you've seen all of these proposals out there. Kent Conrad's version, have you seen his draft proposal? Are you familiar with it?
Now, I've talked with Senators Toomey and Senator DeMint on a regular basis about what the conservatives in the Senate are trying to do. This gang of six that Senator Conrad is a member of has been extraordinarily secretive. And we've heard very, very little. We hear that they're going to be referencing the president's fiscal commission, but we've not seen it. Believe me, the last people they're going to share it with is folks in the House.
Well, I guess so. It confounds me that there's so little information out there. And just for fun, I wanted to bring up your family of four kitchen table comparison because I think this really drives home the kind of financial trouble this country is in. So if you were to compare the nation and its budget to a family of four, this family of four would have an income of $46,000, they would spend $78,000, and they would have credit card debt of $281,000. Everybody can see that's a problem.
And I use that example to try and drive home exactly, the real numbers. I don't understand what $1 trillion is, and I got an econ degree, and I'm on the Budget Committee. But then I take it another level. We cut $35 million out of our own budgets this year. It's one of the first things the Republicans in Congress did. In that world where you're making $46,000 and you're spending $78,000, you're trying to find $32,000 worth of savings. The $35 million that we saved when we cut our own budgets represents 70 cents. That's how big the problem is. And I think
Wow.
that, if nothing else, that shows us how far down the road we've already gone.
What will it take to get you to vote to raise the debt ceiling?
You know, I've been fairly consistent on this. I like to think real structural change. I came to Washington to try and change the way that Washington does business. Business as usual drove me nuts. It's one of the reasons I ran for Congress. I know I'm not the only person in the freshman class who came there for the same reason. The debt ceiling is our one chance, the one real chance we've got this year to change the way Washington works, change the structure, change the culture. If we're simply nibbling around on the edges, talking about $10 billion here, $40 billion here, even $100 billion there, it's not going to change Washington. We'll be right back where we are next year. This is our chance. This is where we draw the line in the sand and say, look, we will vote to raise the debt ceiling, but you will change Washington in order to get us to do it.
Well, Congressman, we'll be watching as always. Thanks for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jerry.